Back to the daily grind. The channel's getting false flagged by triggered trolls, so make sure you subscribe to the new channel. Let's get to the MMA news. Fabrico Werdum's coming out, and he's finally responding to Dana White. If you remember back when he fought Alistair Overeem, what was that, UFC 209? It was a while back. But yeah, they fought a while ago. It could have been 211, man. It was a while ago, so it's been a while since he responded to Dana White. But if you remember in that fight, it was a controversial split decision. Alistair Overeem, his hand was raised, but a lot of people had the fight even going into the third round, and Fabrico Werdum finished the round on top. I don't remember the exact way the third round went, but I do remember Dana White's criticism was the fact that he didn't feel like Fabrico Werdum went for the finish. I forgot what happened. It was like he didn't follow him to the ground, or he just held on to him for the remainder of the fight instead of going for the finish. He did something that made Dana White critical, and Dana White criticized it at the post-fight press conference. He said, there was someone on the same card that went for the finish. They're like, no, get back up. Oh, that's what happened. They dropped a dude. That's probably what happened in this same fight. He dropped Alistair Overeem because, Alistair Overeem can be a tad bit chinny these days. So he dropped Alistair Overeem, and instead of letting him back up, or instead of finishing Alistair Overeem, he just jumped like right on top of him and just rode him for the rest of the round and let Alistair Overeem regain his consciousness and shit. And someone in a fight previously that night dropped a dude, said, no, get back up, and finished him. So he got criticized for not, finishing Alistair Overeem after he dropped him. So Fabrico Werdum's coming out, and he's finally responding to Dana White. And this is what he has to say. He said, he was pretty. Hold on one second. I got the article pulled up. I got so many fucking tabs up. This is what he had to say, man. Dana White can say whatever he wants. He's the president of the UFC, but he's not the one who's fighting. Dana White doesn't know what we're feeling in there. He can talk, fans can talk, but I followed my strategy. And I'm fine with that, man. I'm honestly fine with that. I followed my strategy. Okay, if that's your strategy, that's fine. But at the same time, when Dana White follows his strategy and puts the most exciting fighter up for the title shot, don't be mad. You can talk, fighters can talk, Fabrico can talk, anyone can talk, but Dana White's following his strategy, putting the most entertaining fighter up for the title shot. So at the same time, you can say, your strategy is to not finish a guy in the third round. That's fine. Me personally, I'm fine with that. I felt like it was controversial. I kind of thought Fabricio's hand was going to get raised, but it didn't. So I understand why it's critical and all this stuff, but I don't know why it came so long. I'm telling you, that fight was like, 211, 209. I believe it was 209. I really want to say it was UFC. And what are we coming up on now? UFC 215, man. It's been about 2 months since this dude, Dana White, criticized Fabrico Werdum. Now he's finally responding, and he's saying, he's saying that was my strategy. Dana doesn't know what we're feeling in there. And one thing I'll say on Dana's behalf is Dana probably has dealt with more fighters than the fighters. Honestly, Dana White probably has talked to, before, during, and after a fight, more fighters than Fabrico. Dana White runs through fighters, all the matchmaking. Dana White does know a little bit about what he's talking about. Now, like whenever he was saying in the GSP negotiations, I know when a guy wants to fight. GSP doesn't look like he wants to fight. He's not acting like he wants to fight, which is interesting now that GSP is signed. But it's like Tyron Woodley said, it makes sense. GSP's coming back to collect on the sport he helped build. He's coming back for some of this pay-per-view money. He's not coming back because he's just itching to fight, because he's looking for a fight. He's coming back to collect on his dues. He feels like he paid his dues, so he wants paid for his dues. And that's fine. That's fine as well. But Dana White looks like he might have been right there. You know what I'm saying? Dana White's not always wrong. He will say some shit that comes out, and he contradicts himself sometimes. It'll be fake news. But a lot of the times he fucking is just saying what's off the top of his head. So Fabrico, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with fighters. I'm the guy that's fine with wrestlers. I don't care if you go in there and you don't have the best striking. And if you can hold a guy and control a guy like Jorge Masvidal did, like Damian Maia did Jorge Masvidal, and he's not a wrestler, but you know what I'm saying. If you can control a guy's will, that's their problem. If you do that 3 rounds in a row, you win the fight. But if it's a really close fight, you might lose on the scorecards. So I'm fine with it either way. I understand where Fabricio's coming from. His coaches are coming from. They want that W. But it's weird when you go in there with the strategy for just to get the win, and then your hand doesn't get raised. Maybe the strategy needs altered, but I'm not the one to sit here and say that. He followed his strategy. If Dana White follows his strategy and doesn't want to put this guy up for the next title shot, you can't be mad at Dana either. I mean, you can if you're a full-time Fabrico Werdum fan, but I'm just an MMA fan, so I understand both sides here. You go in there with the game plan to win, not a game plan to get clipped up like Justin Gaethje. You know, Fabricio never came out and said, I guarantee you either I get knocked out or he gets knocked out. That's not his style. As a matter of fact, he's known for jiu-jitsu. Therefore, you can expect him to follow a guy to the ground and go for the finish down there. But if I remember correctly, he wasn't going for like the super jiu-jitsu finish down there in the third round. It was like he was just he felt like he won the round. He felt like he won the fight, 2-1 rounds, and so he let the fight go out. So I understand where both of these guys are coming from. It is what it is. Let the haters know what the fuck you think about Fabricio Werdum. Finally responding to Dana White in the comments. I'm out. What did the pirate say when he turned 80 years old? Aye, matey.